Today is February the 25th, 2026. This is Carmen bringing you your daily Bloodborne updates. We don't have any news on a Bloodborne remaster or a new Bloodborne game today, technically. But we do also kind of have some news on what might have been a Bloodborne remake at some point. Now, thankfully, this never came to pass because it was going to be headed up by Bluepoint. I've been very vocal with my disdain for the Demon's Souls remake. And it's not like I'm some purist that played the game 10 years ago and then, tried the remake and hated it immediately. No. I played the Demon's Souls remake first. Loved it. Then I played the original Demon's Souls, and I was like, wow, this is just better. This is just better, And every way aside from just like raw graphical fidelity, just better. Outright. Period, point blank. So I'm not someone who's, a purist from 15 years ago. None of that. No. None of that. I played the remake first, then the original, and preferred the original. So anyway, let's get into this. This is a little bit of news about what might have happened with a Bloodborne remake over the past several years. Now, take this with a grain of salt. This is coming from, I forget the dude's name on Twitter. He's been talking a lot about the Bluepoint situation. From Green Zone Bites on Twitter. I think he changed his name. I don't think that was his name 3 hours ago or whatever. But this is from him. So, Bluepoint Games final report. From Bloodborne remake potential to shuttered. So, end of 2020, Bluepoint ships Demon's Souls and talks begin with the Sony acquisition and working on more original projects. Yap. Sony didn't think the remakes remasters made enough money. We're just gonna skip this stuff that is not Bloodborne related. It was assumed in the studio that Bluepoint would be remaking Bloodborne after Demon's Souls. Bluepoint had a design department of 1 to 2 people, but that was not sufficient for a full project. I think this is just in general, not specifically for Bloodborne. Okay, quotes, in early 2021, after Demon's Souls, studio staff assumed they would work on Bloodborne and started to prepare to. However, they did not get the green light due to internal politics of Bloodborne involving a very fragile relationship with FromSoft, Sony, and the original IP. Sources do not think a Bloodborne remake will ever be made due to internal politics. This kind of lines up with what we heard a while ago. This was about around 2022, I think. Where someone had mentioned that FromSoft were not particularly big fans of the Demon's Souls remake and were very hesitant to see Bloodborne remade in any way. Now, I also doubt this, kind of, because while, yes, Bloodborne is seen by many as the baby of Miyazaki, the problem with this is that Sony does own the IP, period, point blank. They own the IP. They can say what happens. They can make a Bloodborne 2 and it's an over-the-shoulder third-person game like The Last of Us. And they could just do it because they own the IP. So while I can see that there is some internal conflicts between FromSoft and Sony, and it's probably a very fragile relationship, that's a weird vibration. I also don't know how much stock to put in that because, again, Sony owns this IP. They can do what they want. Also, I believe Sony is one of the people that helped FromSoft buy the Elden Ring IP back from Bandai Namco. When Elden Ring was first shipped, it was owned by Bandai Namco. FromSoft later bought the IP back themselves because out of all these Souls games they have made, the only IPs they own are Bloodborne and Sekiro. So I think they probably just wanted to have another IP under their belt for this. Sony helped them do that, so I don't know how strained the relationship could be. But again, Sony has final say on this. They could do literally whatever they wanted with Bloodborne. So I don't know about this. Again, worth noting to take all this with a grain of salt. Bloodborne was pulled from the table and Bluepoint had no project. This is some stuff about what Jim Ryan had them doing with the God of War live service game and them helping out with God of War Ragnarok. A lot of studios helped out with God of War Ragnarok to kind of get it out the door in the last push of development. Alright, now we're up to 2025 after skipping a long ordeal with Bluepoint and Sony. So in 2025, they began pitching remake projects to Sony. They pitched a Jak and Daxter remake, a Resistance remake, a Shadow of the Colossus remaster of the remake. I don't know about that one. And this was actually interesting, though. Adding 4 to 6 new bosses with several pulled from the original PS2 content. Now, this Could have been good. And this kind of goes down the lane of what I wanted the Demon Souls remake to be, which is adding cut content, you know? Even if the Demon Souls remake is hilariously inferior to the original, it would still have a leg up if they added the Northern Limit level into it. They did not, but if it did, the remake would at least have some value for that. So this is kind of in the same lines of what I was thinking they should have done for that. And then also, Bloodborne Remake was again pitched in 2025. A small portion of the team worked on it for 2 to 3 months, but Sony pulled the plug. It was never officially greenlit, but they were deep in negotiations, and Bluepoint thought they would make it. And then there's a few new IPs they were talking about making, all of which fell through. At the end of the day, they pitched the Bloodborne Remake a couple of times, never got made. It's tough to see, you know, but I'm not upset with it. I'm not upset with Bluepoint not remaking Bloodborne, really not. So, I don't know what else to say. We're saved from Bluepoint working on it. Thank God. Did not want them to do it. But there is talent at this studio, and I hate to see it get shut down. Even though I hate the Demon Souls remake, I think this studio had enough talent to warrant them not getting shut down. So, it sucks to see. But according to this, if it is to be believed, Bloodborne may never see the light of day ever again. So, tragic. Like I said when the news first broke on the Bluepoint situation, if we were not in for the long haul for the past almost 4 years at this point, no, it has been 4 years, almost 5 years at this point, we're definitely in for the long haul now. So, if you've been here for years and years and years and years and years, like I know many of you have, and I appreciate you, and I read all the comments, I do. I just don't respond to all of them. We got a long way to go. So yeah, that's about it. So there's your news on a Bloodborne remaster or a new Bloodborne game today. That has been your daily Bloodborne update for February the 25th, 2026.